She's coming. There she is.
Hi.
Hey, Tolu. How is one?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. Luckily, I have somebody bringing me drinks through all of this as we get through the day. Full on.
I actually did not know you're doing it, Torie. I must have something that whatever it is you're drinking or something, I haven't got a clue.
All I know is, thank goodness I had a good sleep last night. And when I finish after this, I'm just going to go, oh my goodness. Anyway, we've got 5 minutes. So may I please introduce Tolu, and I can always mispronounce your surname. How do we say it?
Olaniyan, just as it is. Olaniyan, yeah.
There we go. And tell everybody, what do you do?
So I am a registered learning disability nurse in the UK. I work as a learning disability nurse with a specialty in epilepsy as well. Yeah.
Okay, and I believe that you've got something else under your belt now that you're doing as well.
Oh, yes. Well, I kind of wear different hats, but I'm also the CEO of Pretola Global Health and Consulting. It's a organization through which we educate people. We provide training, specialist training of epilepsy, intellectual disabilities, and autism to organizations and to services. And we also provide expert advice and consulting as well with regards to other issues that they might have.
Oh my God, you're just like, hey. But it's understandable. You've been doing it for ages, haven't you? And so you didn't start off medically specializing in epilepsy, but you're just like, wow, extracurricular neuronal activity interests me, right?
Yes, yes. Epilepsy is an interesting condition. I find it interesting in the sense that you can't know it all. You're always learning all the time.
Someone else was saying that earlier, you can never know everything about it. So you always have to find people that you trust, fellow professionals who say, actually, could you answer this question, please? Yeah. And then the best medical professionals, if they don't know, they say, I don't know, but I'll find out, or they will pass it on to somebody else. Trust me, right?
Yes. And I realized quickly when I started my nursing training that actually epilepsy is a big aspect of people with learning disability and autism. Statistics shows that sometimes, well, depending on which data you're reading, you get between 30% to 50% of people with learning disabilities have got epilepsy of some form. So really, it's quite a big factor in the people I provide care to. And yeah, so it's quite interesting because there are loads of issues around it, trying to get someone to go for assessment, or actually even thinking that so-called behavior is not really a behavior, it's actually some form of epilepsy, some form of
some sort of seizure, yeah.
So yeah, I find it very, very interesting. I kind of feel like sometimes I'm like an investigator.
What, sorry?
I feel like an investigator sometimes, where I'm going around asking loads of questions and trying to dig deep and figure out what's going on, really. So it's quite interesting, and that was how I got involved in epilepsy as well, because a lot of the people I support as a nurse, services I've worked in the past, and even currently, a lot of them have got epilepsy. So it's a big aspect of what we do. Yeah.
And the same goes for people with autism. Well, not so many people, but there's a much higher rate of epilepsy with people with autism than there is in the general public, right?
It is. There is, in the sense that in the sense that you'll find more of it, that there seems to be a link between that, and we're still trying to figure it out, really, as to the cause of it. And if you think about people with intellectual disability and disability, the more severe their disability, the more the chances of epilepsy as well, because it's about that what has caused that malformation in the neuronal developmental pathway that can also obviously lead to epilepsy. So it is a big aspect of learning disability, autism, which we know that they are linked together, and then you get epilepsy as part of it as well. I actually remember, if you remember last year when we went to the ILAE conference in Birmingham, and Professor Mike Kerr, when he gave his speech, he spoke about people living at the edge, people with learning disability and autism with epilepsy. They seem to be those that are living at the edge, because it's a complex comorbidity that needs specialist input and specialist involvement.
Oh, for anyone who doesn't know, comorbidity means that it's like an additional illness. So I'm a bit of trying to be a translator today, yeah. So if we say someone's got epilepsy and something else, either one of those can be a comorbidity, right?
Yeah, I'll try not to use too much professional language.
No, it's all right, I like it. But no, okay, and so, because we're going through time so quickly, what is a key note that you want people to leave with at the end of our conversation? What is the point you want to make, and how do people contact you?
So I'll dwelling more around the epilepsy and adults with people with learning disability and autism. It's even more so pronounced now with COVID-19 going on, where we have a lot of issues where there's a term we call differential diagnosis. What's it called now? Diagnosis of overshadowing, sorry. That's the term I was looking for, where a lot of people attribute issues, presentation of people with autism and learning disability at that point in time as to, oh, it's all about behavior, that's the way they are, but not really looking deep in a clinical form to actually figure out what is going on. And even more so now with COVID-19, where people are so anxious, their routine are out of the window, and they're having more seizures because of that. And I want us to be all aware, especially healthcare practitioners out there, to be aware that this client group of people, learning disabilities and autism, they might have more seizure events during this time. I'm actually dealing with it professionally as well. More seizure events during this time, and we need to provide that support to them so that we can help them, help their families, help their friends during this difficult time.
Okay, and how do people contact you if they want to?
Well, if it's with regards to any question generally, you can contact me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, Instagram, but it's anything that's got to do with professional, questions or patient questions, you have to come to our service on the Isle of Wight. But yeah, if it's anything about just general questions about epilepsy, contact me on social media. Thank you.